Shalom. Call halal Yahweh by Shem Shai by Hashem Rakakwadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders. Salutations to all my fellow laborers doing this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so now more so than ever. To the scattered elect that are scattered around the four corners of the earth, that be like unto the speckled bird, the Israelite foreigners. And to the Akwath that are listening and learning, to you I say Shalom. This is your brother Malcolm from the branch of the Great Millstone here in Chicago, coming at you with another lesson in truth. And this video is going to be for the Critical Race History Facts, Historical Facts channel. And it was inspired by the edification of a Iskarite who also happens to be a Mason, who was brought into it from his father after he got out of college. And we had a long edifying. I was at a Relics camp. I'm going to try to find that video and repost it because it was extremely edifying. He had some legitimate questions. You know, first I thought maybe he was a tear. Then I thought maybe he was an agent sent. But, you know, he had an eye-opening experience. And he's now questioning the whole Mason thing and believing that the Bible and his history that we gave him might actually be true, and from other things. You know, he's basically searching and he's putting stuff together for himself, and he was surprised how much we knew about the Masons. But you know, we just learn these studies just being in this truth, examining our enemies and the different doctrines that we've had to come against and prepare ourselves for. All right, he was shocked that I knew about hewn stones, and we were talking about like when you look at when you look at, let me see if I can pull it up. There we go. Here are images of Petra, which is funny that they renamed it Petra. All right, and what you're looking at is hewn stone. And the people in power are typically the people that are still building. That's why the buildings in America still look a lot like this to this day, because they're now the ruling class people. But when you look at the way that the castles and the things that were built in England, Ireland, Scotland, you know, Iberia Peninsula, you know, you don't see buildings being built like that, because the people who built those buildings basically they went into slavery. And those are your so-called Negroes. And he was marveled at the fact, and he understood, well, damn, that could be a lot of truth, you know, with the connection between the northern and southern kingdom, because he knew about the fact that the pyramids in Giza, all right, have the same measurements and was built up in similar fashion as the ones down in South America. Okay, so as a matter of fact, let me grab a quick scripture. This is you know, and there's a book on the shelf behind me with Snowden. He said something that relics, and this being a relic, tell a truth. And if you know, and it's you really can't see it, but a lot of at the top, at the very tops of these carvings, they're eagles carved on them. You know, so that's how you know that it was Esau Edom, and hence the reason why the red rocks of Edom, why they call it Petra now. Because Edom has been trying to hide. Because why would something have in Jordan have a Greek name? You see, so Esau Edom, just like Greek found its way into the Bible, and the Grecian way of saying Edom was Idumea. So they started calling themselves Idumeans, you know. But yeah, let me grab this scripture real quick. This is book of Exodus. And this is a passion and a labor of love and done out of fear. You know, I'm doing this work because I want to get out of here. I'm trying to atone for my own sins, my own, you know, those that I love and care about. This is Exodus 20 and 25. And it reads, "If thou wilt make me an altar of stone, thou shalt not build it with hewn stone. For thou lift up thy tool upon it, thou hast polluted it." So Masons carve and shape, you know, and he was just shocked that we knew and understood that. And I told him that the Masons, that whole thing goes back to Hiram, which was a so-called African, because he understood too. He was like, well, that's really an it's the Masons, the top guys are all a bunch of white guys. I said, why are you going to follow them? And especially after all the history he learned about, what happened to our people and things of that nature. But nevertheless, as you can see, the ruling class people is Edom, because look, all your legal buildings and most of your centers that were built in the major cities all across America, they still build this way to this day. All right. A lot of the things that were built in the early, late, 1800s, 1900s and throughout. Okay. So, but let's look at this real quick. This is a quick video. It's called Biblical Joseph Depicted as Nubian, which would be a so-called African, on the wall of Egypt, Kemet. Now, I did a video just a couple days ago, and I spoke about how, I think I was doing a response to the video that the Khazar made about the Amalekites not being the Khazars, and that, about the fake Jews. They said fake Jew with a question mark, and the people in the land of Israel, Khazarians, and many of them are. And, Esau's just a liar. And this is why the relics and the things that are found are so important, because you have to remember the Bible and the Torah clearly describes the ancient Israelites, the angels, and God, who you ignorantly call God. And then the relics that were left in the time period when the Israelites there, well, they were also called black people, as you're going to see depicted in here.
The Pharaoh brings Joseph out of prison to interpret his dreams. Joseph declares that the dreams portend 7 years of abundance, followed by 7 years of famine. Joseph recommends that the Pharaoh preserve food from the time of abundance for use during the time of famine. The Pharaoh is so impressed by Joseph's plan that he places him in charge of his entire court, a role that is memorialized on the walls of royal tombs.
So on the walls of royal tombs, and what you're about to see, you're about to witness some Jordanians, all right, take mirrors and reflect the sun down a tunnel to another mirror, and then reflect that mirror to a wall, which is going to show Joseph being darker than the actual African Egyptian. That's the crazy thing in the image. The Israelite was actually darker than the Hamite. So, that's the confusion. And as I saw something written not too long ago, and it said all skin folk ain't kinfolk. Just because someone is dark don't make them your people. For you people who caught up in this melanin thing, all right? Because the Hamites were a dark race people. Hence the reason why the Israelites would continually hide among them to confuse and get away from other heathens mainly from the Edomites. All right? You got to remember, Moses grew up in the house of Pharaoh. And after you see this image, you'll see why they was able to be. If these so-called white people were the people of the Lord, that couldn't have been pulled off. Okay? It couldn't have been pulled off. And then secondly, a tomb was just opened up literally about 2 years ago. Maybe, I think it was like in 2018. And it had been closed for 5,000 years. And everyone in that tomb was so-called black. All the images on the walls. So, and those were your Philistines and your Canaanites, your Egyptians, etc. All right, the people indigenous to North Africa and the land above it, the ancient Mesopotamia, the so-called Middle East, the fervent crest. The people who occupied those lands were all dark people. So who are these pale people? They're imposters, as spoken about in Zechariah the 9th chapter. It's around the 6th verse, and in Ezekiel the 36th chapter. All right, verses like 1 through 5. But let us continue to let the relics speak the truth, different from what the lying text that was been put up by the JPS publishing companies and books, destroy that lie. And that means Jewish publications, for anyone who didn't know what JPS is.
Egyptologist Dr. Yasser Izzat gave me a guided tour in the Valley of the Kings.
This is one of the most beautiful tombs in this area.
So there's the first mirror.
So these are all the images of the...
Yes, yes.
And what do you see?
As you see, and everywhere here they showed the title of the vizier. You see the blue circle up.
The circle with the dots in it.
Yeah, above it, you see the sign above it?
Okay, now what is that sign?
Yeah, this is Emira, means the overseer of the city.
And Joseph was made overseer over the city. All right? Joseph had 11 other brothers that all looked like him. All right, so the question is, where is Benjamin Netanyahu and people that look like him fit in this ancient tomb, and this evidence, this relic that is bearing witness to who the Israelites are and what they look like, and also the Egyptians and the Philistines and the Canaanites as well. You see that? So the guy, the overseer, is the darkest one in the Egyptian dress. Hence the reason why Joseph's brothers did not recognize him. All right. He was the overseer over the city. All right. He was made overseer.
It's almost like you can draw a direct connection between these hieroglyphs on the wall and what's in this book.
Yeah.
There it is. So there's your physical evidence of what Joseph looked like. All right. The son of Jacob. So what are these Edomites talking about? They're liars. Let's go to the book of Ezekiel, the 37th chapter. So I got a couple lessons I was trying to get in today. This is the first one. 37, I'm going to read like 15 through 20, and it reads, "The word came again unto me, saying, Moreover, thou son of man, take thee one stick and write upon it for Judah, the children of Israel, his companions. Then take another stick and write upon it for Joseph, the stick of Ephraim, and for all the house of Israel." So in this context, Judah is representing the southern kingdom, which is Judah, Levi, and Benjamin. And then Joseph, the stick of Joseph, is representing the northern kingdom. All right. From the Puerto Ricans all the way down to the Mexicans. All right. So-called. You know, we're talking about the Brazilians, the Panamanians, Guatemalans, you know, Ecuadorians, and all that. The Native Americans. All right. Reuben and Gad. The Reubenites of Florida and most of the rest of America, for the most part, except for the portions that was controlled by Issachar, was controlled by Gad. All right, so we're talking about people who are natives to the Americas and to the islands, being put on his stick, and join them one another into one stick, that they shall come one in thy hand. And we explained to the Issacharite brother that the oldest relics, Hebrew, were found among the natives. Found in one of the biggest ones in New Mexico, the Las Lunas stones. They had the 10 Commandments on it, and I think Deuteronomy 17th chapter in the ancient Paleo-Hebrew. So how are these people not Hebrews when they were keeping so many Hebrew customs? Reading and writing and calling on the Lord in the name of Hebrew. The Gadites would often chant the name of the Lord in broken Hebrew. All right, when they would chant, yea, hey, hey, why, hey, why, they were saying Yahweh. Okay? And it says, and join them one to another into one stick, that they will become one in thy hand. And when the children of thy people shall speak unto thee, saying, wilt thou not show us what thou hast meanest by these? So when they see the 12 tribe sign, we then explain, and then we go into all this critical race historical facts to prove what we're saying to be true. We see, because the facts and the relics back up what we're saying. They don't back up what these Edomites with these so-called white people, with these fake Jews are saying, or these historians. All right. And it's funny that we were at the 144 mark when those statements were made. I just happened to look up at the clock, and verse 19, say unto them, thus saith Yahweh power, behold, I will take the stick of Joseph, which is in the hand of Ephraim, and the tribes of Israel his fellows, and will put them with him, even the stick of Judah, to make them one. And they shall be one in thy hand. And at the camp, at Aralah's camp, you know, is mostly southern kingdom outside of Rapiah, and across the street from them, and a little bit west of them, teaches the northern kingdom camp, which is all mostly all Issacharites. And yesterday I was with Aralah's camp, and here we got an Issacharite being edified by us, and at the same time there was 2 Judite women across the street at the Issacharites being edified by them. See, so this prophecy has come, you know, it's come fully fold, man. Verse 20, and the sticks wherein thou writest shall be in thy hand before their eyes. So the 12 tribe sign is a prophecy and a sign. And you still got fools who try to deny that. Let's go to the book of Ezra. We broke down because he tried to come with the Bering Strait and that, you know, that fabricated lie that Esau tried to come up with to try to disconnect the tribes and try to sell to the world the lie that the natives of the Americas and the islands came from Asia. That's, well, if you're talking about Asia, meaning you know, Asia Minor was north east of Israel, of Egypt. All right, it's just a play on words, man. And then them just liars. But this is 2 Ezra 13 and 40, and it reads, and those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hosea the king, which Shalmaneser the king of Assyria led away captive, and he carried them over the waters, and so they came into another land. You don't need to go over waters to go into anywhere from Israel. All right, because you got people try to say that these black only Israelite clowns try to say that they went into Africa. You just walk right into Africa from, you don't need to go over water and go down through. No, what they did was they sailed down the rivers down into the Arabian Sea, down past in between Africa and Madagascar, around the Horn of Africa, and up and over into the islands of America. All right, the same route that Hiram took, who was a master mason, by the way, and the Masons started off Africans. So Esau is not, and matter of fact, most even the Issacharite knew that about the Masons, that they were all the forefathers and the starters of them were all white. And what are they trying to do? They're hijacking Egyptian culture yet again, because there's a bunch of Egyptologists that put all that together anyway. And yes, and all the heads of the Jewish state of Israel, they're all Masons. All right, they're all Masons, and they're exposed. The Masons' power, one of their creeds is about slitting your throat from ear to ear if you tell their secrets. Well, all the secrets are out. We're in the information age, man. All right. And it said, and they carried them, and he carried them over the waters so that they came into another land, but they took the counsel among themselves that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt. All right. And one place where mankind never dwelt was in the Americas. Nobody was dwelling in the Americas. The known world was the ancient world. All right. The Eastern world. They came west. All right. And it said that they might dare keep their statutes, which they never kept in their own land. And they entered into the Euphrates by a narrow passage. There it is. And took the route that I spoke of before. For the Most High showed them signs for them that he held still the flood till they were passed over. And through the country there was a great way to go, namely a year and a half. And the same region is called Ashereth. And there are many Jewish publications that tell you that Ashereth was America, or is America. Just like the 1905 Jewish Almanac clearly states that modern day Jewry is Edom. So now you got these Edomites trying to say that they are actually the people of Jacob when they're not. They're the Jewish converts. All right. And then I remember him saying he had 3 Edomite roommates, or 3. He had an Irish roommate, and he had one that was German, and then he had one an Italian. He said the Italian was different, that he had rhythm and hip hop music and stuff. And then it turns out that the dude, you know, just said he just had swag. He was flavor. He had a little flavor. He was different from the other two. And that he was from southern Italy. So I, you know, and then he also knew that it's a chance that he could actually be a so-called African because he knew about the Africans. I said, no, they were the Moors, and the Moors were Israelites, not Africans. All right. But there's a chance that he could have been Jake. But nevertheless, he just remembered, he told me he had a conversation with them and that they had the biggest fear. And that biggest fear is that brown people or black people would take over whites, and the whites being, you know, last or put on the bottom. And that is their biggest fear. And he said he just thought that was so weird back then. But now he, you know, after the conversations and talking about the Bible, he gets it. All right. So we'll finish with this. This is Revelation 18:6. And this is what they fear. It says, reward her even as she has rewarded you, and double unto her according to her works, and the cup which she hath filled, fill unto her double. So double the oppression. So the oppression that they put upon us, they're going to get it double. Thus saith the Lord, thus saith the Bible. All right. Revelation 13:9-10. And this is their biggest fear. All right. If in Revelation 13:9, if any man have an ear, let him hear. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. So they led the people of Israel into slavery. They're going into slavery. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. And they exercise their birthright, their blessing, which was the sword. Edom was blessed with the sword, to live by the sword. And when you live by the sword, that means you slaying, conquering, and killing and taking other people's shit. And yes, it's going to be done to them. All right. And then it says, here is the patience and the faith of the saints. So the patience, meaning to suffer, the saints are patiently waiting with faith. All right. And the saints are the Israelites to put into slavery and to give double unto them that put them into slavery and slayed them with the sword. Thus saith the Lord. All right. You have to account for everything that you do. You have to reap what you sow. So with that, I'm going to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem, Rakakwadash. Take an image of this and save it for your phones. For argument's sake, you know, the name of this video, I'm surprised this video has been up since 2009 of August. And it's only had 25,000 views, which is probably why 25,354. Which is probably why it's floated, you know, under the radar there. But I start using it again, it'll probably disappear. So take an image of that, you know, so that you can, you know, you can have it for your, and, you know, just keep it in your phone so you can break it out for argument's sake so that you can defend the gospel. Call hello, Yahweh Bashem Shai Bashem Wakakwadash Wa Abba Shalom.